There's a psychological pattern that Freud observed over and over again in his patients, a pattern so common and so devastating that it seems to be a fundamental characteristic of human nature. The pattern is this: people spend their entire lives chasing after love from people who cannot or will not give it to them, while completely ignoring or devaluing the love that's already being offered by people who are actually capable of loving them. And the moment they stop this chase, the moment they finally let go of the desperate pursuit, something shifts in their perception. They suddenly see clearly what was there all along. They see who actually loved them. They see who was actually present. They see who was actually capable of connection. But by then, it's often too late. This is not a simple case of taking people for granted, though that's part of it. This is something deeper and more insidious. This is about the way the human psyche becomes oriented toward unavailable love in childhood and then spends the rest of life trying to win that love, trying to finally get it, trying to prove that they're worthy of it. And in this pursuit, they become completely blind to available love. They become incapable of receiving it. They become suspicious of it. They devalue it. They dismiss it as not real love because it doesn't match the pattern established in childhood. Freud understood this through his work on repetition compulsion. He observed that people don't just accidentally repeat their patterns. They actively seek out situations and relationships that recreate their earliest wounds. The child who was neglected seeks partners who are emotionally unavailable. The child who was criticized seeks partners who are judgmental. The child who had to earn love through performance seeks partners who withhold approval. This isn't masochism exactly. It's an attempt to master the original trauma. It's the psyche saying, "This time I'll get it right. This time I'll finally win the love I couldn't get as a child. This time I'll prove that I'm worthy." But here's what Freud knew, and what most people never realize. You can't win that love. You can't get it right. You can't prove your worthiness to someone who is fundamentally incapable of seeing you or valuing you or loving you. The person you're chasing is a stand-in for the parent who couldn't love you properly. And just like that parent, this person cannot give you what you need. Not because you're unworthy, but because they're incapable. Think about the person who is obsessed with someone who is cold and distant. They interpret every small gesture as a sign of hope. They believe that if they just do the right thing, say the right thing, be the right way, this person will finally open up and love them back. They analyze every interaction. They modify their behavior. They contort themselves trying to be whatever this person needs. And in the process, they completely fail to notice the person who is already warm and open and interested. That person seems boring. That person seems too available. That person seems like they must want something or have ulterior motives. Because in the person's psychology, love is supposed to be hard. Love is supposed to require effort. Love is supposed to be earned through suffering and persistence. Or think about the person who is attracted to partners who are critical and demanding. They believe that if they can just meet all the demands, if they can just become good enough, this partner will finally approve of them and love them. They work tirelessly to improve themselves, to meet every standard, to anticipate every need. And they completely fail to notice the person who already accepts them as they are. That person seems like they're settling. That person seems like they have low standards. That person seems suspicious because in the person's psychology, love is supposed to come with conditions. Love is supposed to require you to be better than you are. Love is supposed to be contingent on performance. Or think about the person who keeps pursuing partners who are already in other relationships or who explicitly state they don't want commitment. They believe that if they're just patient enough, if they're just understanding enough, if they're just there enough, this person will eventually choose them. They wait. They remain available. They accept scraps of attention. And they completely fail to notice the person who is actually available and actually wants a relationship. That person seems too easy. That person seems desperate. That person seems like they must be defective if they're single and available. Because in the person's psychology, love is supposed to involve winning someone over. Love is supposed to be a conquest. Love is supposed to require you to wait and hope and prove your devotion. What all of these patterns have in common is that they're oriented toward unavailable love. And the orientation toward unavailable love serves a specific psychological function. It protects you from actually having to receive love. It protects you from actually having to be intimate. It protects you from actually having to be vulnerable with someone who might see you and know you. Because deep down, beneath all the conscious longing and desire, there's a terror. The terror is that if someone really saw you, they would reject you. If someone really knew you, they would leave. If someone really loved you, they would eventually discover that you're not worthy of love. This terror was established in childhood. When the parent couldn't love you properly, when the parent was unavailable or critical or conditional in their love, you didn't conclude that the parent was limited or damaged or incapable. You concluded that you were unlovable. You internalized the parent's inability to love as evidence of your own unworthiness. And this belief became foundational. It became the core of your identity. You are fundamentally unlovable, and all your behavior is organized around managing this belief. The pursuit of unavailable love is one way to manage this belief. If you're always chasing someone who can't love you, you never have to face the possibility that even when you're loved, you still feel unlovable. You never have to face the fact that the problem isn't that you haven't won the right person's love. The problem is that you don't believe you're lovable, even when someone does love you. This is where Freud's insight becomes genuinely dark and genuinely profound. The people who are chasing unavailable love are not actually looking for love. They're looking for validation of their unworthiness. They're looking to confirm what they already believe about themselves. They're looking to recreate the original wound so that they can feel the familiar pain that tells them they're in the right place, living out the right story, being who they've always been. And the available love, the love that's actually being offered, the love from people who see you and value you and want to be with you, that love is terrifying. Because if you accept it, you have to question your fundamental belief about yourself. You have to consider the possibility that maybe you are lovable, maybe you are worthy, maybe the original message you received was wrong, and that possibility threatens your entire identity. It threatens the story you've been telling yourself about who you are and why your life is the way it is. So you reject the available love. You dismiss it. You find reasons why it doesn't count. The person is too desperate. The person has low self-esteem. The person doesn't really know you. The person wants something from you. The person is settling. The person is damaged. You find a way to disqualify the love so that you can maintain your belief in your unworthiness and continue your pursuit of the unavailable love that confirms your belief. Freud observed this pattern destroying people's lives. He watched his patients chase unavailable partners for years, decades, entire lifetimes. He watched them remain blind to the people who actually love them. He watched them rationalize and justify and explain away the obvious reality. And he understood that this was not a simple case of bad judgment or poor choices. This was the unconscious organizing behavior to protect a core belief. Now, the question becomes, how does this pattern break? How does someone stop chasing unavailable love and finally see who actually loved them? And Freud's answer, his brutal answer, is that usually it doesn't break until the person hits a crisis. Until the unavailable love becomes so obviously futile that even the defense mechanisms can't sustain the belief anymore. Until the person wastes so much time and energy and life force on the pursuit that they finally collapse in exhaustion. Until something forces them to stop. And when they stop, when the pursuit finally ends, not because they've won, but because they've given up, something remarkable happens. The perceptual field shifts. The people who were always there become visible. The love that was always available becomes apparent. The person looks around and sees clearly for the first time who was actually present, who was actually caring, who was actually capable of connection. And often, the recognition comes too late. The person who loved them has moved on. The person who was available has found someone else. The person who cared has given up trying to reach someone who couldn't see them. And the person is left with the devastating awareness of what they had and couldn't see and have now lost. This is one of the most painful recognitions in human psychology. The recognition that love was there and you couldn't see it because you were oriented toward unavailable love. The recognition that someone valued you and you dismissed them because they didn't match your pattern. The recognition that you had opportunities for real connection and you ignored them because you were chasing fantasy connections that could never be real. But here's what Freud would also tell you. This recognition, as painful as it is necessary for change. Because until you see clearly what you were doing, Until you understand the pattern, until you recognize how your unconscious was organizing your behavior, you can't make different choices. You can't break the repetition compulsion. You can't stop chasing unavailable love and start opening to available love. The recognition requires you to face the original wound. It requires you to acknowledge that the parent who couldn't love you was limited, that their inability to love you properly was about them, not about you, that you internalized a false belief about your unworthiness. It requires you to grieve the love you didn't get as a child, to grieve the time you wasted chasing unavailable love as an adult, to grieve the connections you missed because you couldn't see them. And after the grief, after the recognition, after the acknowledgement of the pattern, a different possibility emerges. The possibility of seeing available love clearly, the possibility of receiving it, the possibility of being with someone who actually wants to be with you, who actually sees you, who actually cares, not because you've won them over, not because you've proven yourself, not because you've finally become worthy, but simply because they're capable of love and they've chosen to direct it toward you. This available love will feel strange at first. It will feel too easy. It will feel suspicious. Your unconscious will try to find problems with it. Your unconscious will try to create drama to make it feel more familiar. Your unconscious will test it, push it, see if it will withdraw or become conditional or unavailable like the love you're used to chasing. But if you can resist these impulses, if you can stay present to the available love even though it doesn't match your pattern, something begins to heal. The core wound begins to close. The belief in your unworthiness begins to soften. You start to internalize a different message. You start to believe that maybe you are worthy of love. Maybe you can be loved without having to earn it. Maybe connection is possible without conquest. This is the transformation that Freud saw as possible, but rare. Most people never make it. Most people continue chasing unavailable love until they die. They spend their entire lives proving their unworthiness to themselves. They collect evidence that love is hard and rare and requires sacrifice. They remain blind to the love that's actually available. But the few who do stop chasing, who do finally see clearly, who do recognize the pattern and face the wound and open to available love, these people experience something profound. They experience the possibility of being loved as they are. They experience connection without drama. They experience intimacy without terror. They experience being seen and known and valued by someone who is actually capable of seeing and knowing and valuing them. And often, when this happens, they look back at the people they dismissed and ignored and undervalued, and they feel profound regret. They see clearly how those people were offering real love and they couldn't receive it. They see how they hurt people who cared about them by treating them as less important than the unavailable love they were chasing. They see the damage their blindness caused. This regret is part of the process. It's part of taking responsibility for the pattern. It's part of acknowledging that while the pattern was established in childhood and was unconscious, the behavior still had consequences. Real people were hurt. Real opportunities were lost. Real time was wasted. The question then becomes, can you forgive yourself for being blind? Can you accept that you were doing the best you could with the psychology you had? Can you stop punishing yourself for not seeing what you weren't capable of seeing at the time? Can you use the recognition and the regret as motivation to change rather than as fuel for more self-hatred? Because here's the final brutal truth that Freud understood. If you can't forgive yourself, if you turn the regret into more evidence of your unworthiness, you'll just create a new version of the same pattern. You'll chase unavailable love as punishment for not having seen available love. You'll reject new opportunities for connection because you don't deserve them after what you've done. You'll use your new awareness as another way to confirm your fundamental belief that you're unlovable. The only way out is through acceptance. Acceptance that you were blind. Acceptance that you hurt people. Acceptance that you wasted time. Acceptance that you can't go back and change the past. And then, from that acceptance, the choice to do differently now. The choice to see available love when it appears. The choice to receive it, even though it feels strange. The choice to risk being seen and known by someone who wants to see and know you. This is what happens when you stop chasing love. You finally see who loved you. You see who was there. You see who was present. You see who was capable. And if you're fortunate, if timing aligns, if grace appears, you get another chance. You get to open to available love. You get to experience being valued by someone who actually has the capacity to value you. You get to stop performing and start being. You get to stop proving and start receiving. But even if that chance doesn't come, even if you look around and realize that everyone who loved you has moved on, the recognition itself is valuable. Because it breaks the pattern. It makes the unconscious conscious. It gives you the possibility of choosing differently in the future. It gives you the capacity to see clearly when available love appears again. It gives you the chance to stop repeating the same mistake. Freud spent his career trying to give people this chance, trying to help them see their patterns, trying to help them understand how their unconscious was organizing their behavior, trying to help them break the repetition compulsion. He knew it was hard. He knew most people would resist. He knew the defenses were powerful, and the wounds were deep, and the patterns were entrenched. But he also knew it was possible. He knew that through sustained self-examination, through the courage to face uncomfortable truths, through the willingness to grieve and change, transformation could happen. People could stop chasing unavailable love. People could start seeing available love. People could heal the core wound and internalize new beliefs about their worthiness. People could change. The question is whether you're willing to do this work, whether you're willing to look honestly at your patterns, whether you're willing to examine who you chase and why, whether you're willing to see who you've been dismissing and ignoring, whether you're willing to face the possibility that you've been blind to love that was actually there, whether you're willing to grieve what you missed, whether you're willing to change your orientation from unavailable to available, because until you do this work, until you stop the chase, you'll never see clearly. You'll remain in the pattern. You'll keep pursuing people who can't love you while ignoring people who can. You'll keep confirming your unworthiness while rejecting evidence of your worth. You'll keep living out the childhood wound instead of healing it. But the moment you stop, the moment you finally let go of the desperate pursuit of unavailable love, everything shifts. Your vision clears. You see what was always there. You see who loved you. You see what you had and couldn't recognize. You see the opportunities you missed. You see the pattern that kept you blind. And from that seeing, if you can bear it, if you can tolerate the grief and the regret and the recognition, you can finally start to change. You can start to open to available love. You can start to believe in your worthiness. You can start to receive what you've been rejecting your entire life. This is what Freud knew. This is what he tried to teach. This is the transformation that becomes possible when you finally stop chasing love and start seeing clearly who was actually there, who was actually present, who actually loved you all along.